and then yesterday I realized, well, this is now totally outdated, but let's talk about it anyway.
But Bitcoin burns so much energy that it is comparable with whole countries.
And if you are a user of Instagram, you probably have noticed that Instagram finally brought something to the user, which is chronological feeds. And
they call it the invisible computer because the lens, you put it into your eye, it's not visible from outside, and it's doing a lot, so to say, inside your eye.
Hi, and welcome to episode 22 of the Tech Review. Every 2 weeks, we gather to discuss the hottest topics from science, technology, and innovation. On camera 4 today... That's what I found. This was the wrong button. On camera 4 today, we have Vincent. On camera 3, we have Chris. On camera 2, we have Henrike. And on camera 1, this is me. Hi, I'm Tarek. So, if you like what you see here, you can of course follow us. If you like what you see here, you can follow us on our websites, ideasengineering.io and freetech.academy, or of course on many of our social media channels. And you can find the links down in the description or in the show notes, depending on if you are watching us on YouTube live or on Spotify in the audio version. So, let's jump into the news. Who is first? My list says Henrike with Elon Musk.
Amazing. That's actually one that I thought, like when I read it, I immediately posted it into our backlog. And then yesterday I realized, well, this is now totally outdated, but let's talk about it anyway. So he announced via Twitter, I think 2 weeks ago, that he wants to, or like he posed the question whether he should create his own social media platform because he was not happy with Twitter following the criticism that he said it doesn't allow for free speech. So the SEC currently is regulating his tweets after the past incidents we all know about. Leading to a stock sell-off, for instance, and he now has to always have pre-approval from other executives from Tesla before posting something. And so he basically just tweeted, what should be done, is a new platform needed? And that was kind of the initial thing that led to this article, does he want to create his own platform? Could be like if he says something like we all know that something is coming. And in the end, yesterday, it was announced that he now is the largest individual shareholder of Twitter, in fact, because he now owns 9.2% of Twitter stocks. So maybe now the question is, rather than does he also wants to have his own platform like Trump or whoever, does he wants to influence the future of Twitter and influence it from the inside now that he's actually owning quite a big share. So the question now for discussion changed a little bit, but I found it quite interesting. And there's maybe another fun fact I read, I think on Sunday, also with regards to the SEC court filing against him, because he quoted Eminem in the latest one that he had to hand in from Without Me. He quoted the SEC instead of, I don't actually know what the original one is in the Eminem song, but it fits in perfectly. The SEC won't let me be me, so let me see. I think it's hilarious. But yeah, this is the never-ending story of Elon Musk and Twitter. It's quite fascinating.
Yeah, I looked into this article as well, and I think it's weird. I think there is actually some agreement with Tesla that he's not allowed to tweet about Tesla without their explicit permission because of these effects where he says something and suddenly the stock prices change and fall into the abyss. And so he actually did something illegal based on the agreements with Tesla by mentioning Tesla in his tweets. So this already is some weird dependency that there exists. At the same time, if he now creates his own social network and keeps it closed, where nobody can see his messages so that he does not accidentally influence the stock prices. This is, again, not the way that social media is supposed to work, right? Really crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and also now with his announcement that he now owns 9.2%, the value of Twitter stock went up as well by like 20 something percent.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he has so many followers. I think the most as any other CEO worldwide. So whatever he says, like so many people are actually seeing it and reacting to it as well. Like the audience is quite engaged.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like a godlike influence. Simply by sending out one message, he can crash the stock market or increase the value of companies. He's like God. Crazy. Yeah, but I mean, this is the world we are living in today with the tech giants. And I mean, I really like Elon Musk with all of his visionary work, but I hope that he's aware of the influence that he has on everything around him, and that he kind of deals in a humble way with it. I'm not sure if this fits his character, but he really has so much influence on everything around him.
Yeah. But I also now continue.
Yeah, just wanted to stress what Tarek just said. So let's just hope that he's not being torn to the dark side of the force, right? Since it's exactly like you say. So there's one person who has lots of influence just by doing something, telling something, or just also as now in buying something and then maybe influencing the thing from within, which is a tendency we see anyways in various aspects and factors nowadays.
Yeah, and what I also found quite interesting in the article, like just in general, they compared it like now after Trump with his social media platform and other big like new platforms from other companies. So there's a tendency of like adding more to the big bunch of social media offers out there. So yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise, and it seems to be like a trend anyway to increase competition there.
Yeah, exactly, the trend. So, and that's the dangerous thing, right? So that people with the respective amount of power actually can create their own realities. They make the world the way they like it, just by announcing and stating that it is in a certain way, and just by buying, well, may it be the social media channels, or may it be communication channels as such, news channels. So this is, as you say, it's a tendency, right? And we see that also nowadays, especially quite often, quite intensively. And of course, that is also dangerous, because there is no independent news source. There are independent news sources, of course, but here we see the danger that news sources are not independent any longer if they fall into the state of being bought and being owned by single persons or individuals even.
I think that every social media company starts out with the idea of free communication and free, not bound to any kind of direction, communication between people and parties of any kind. And I think then life, takes its stake. So you have governments and you have different regulations, and then it turns out that we also are learning. I mean, look at things like social media marketing before Fire Festival, and now everybody has to mark that they're advertising something. And I mean, that's something we had to learn the hard way. And so I think that every social media platform, starts out to do the same, and then free speech is more problematic than they actually think, or you realize that free speech is something that is very hard to achieve. And I think this idea of free speech always gets mixed up. So I think in the Musk case and Twitter, yes, maybe with a new social platform, he would be having more ability to speak freely. but I'm 100% sure that there is also somebody else who feels limited on its platform, or who will be feeling limited. I mean, look at Trump's Truth app. Yes, he is more free to say what he can. I'm pretty sure that there are groups out there who will not feel as represented on there as they probably feel on Twitter, and the other way around. So I think that is a very general problem. And in the app, in the end, not in the app, it is, I think, very, very hard. And I think that one player alone cannot tackle this. I think a media company and a social media company would make a great match when they have ethics. I mean, hence Axel Springer and its development there, but also other companies. I'm not saying this because I'm working here. I'm saying this because I think with ethics and somebody who knows speech and somebody who knows, social media, I think they could create something great.
Okay. Yeah, let's jump to the next article. Next one on the list is me, and I bring news from, I'm not sure if it's considered news. It's a very interesting article with the analysis of this problem of Bitcoin burning fossil fuels and being very, very hard on the environment. This is one of my my favorite topics regarding Bitcoin. I myself, I'm a fan of blockchain technology, but Bitcoin burns so much energy that it is comparable with whole countries. I spoke about this, I don't know how often in the tech review here. And from the technology point of view, it is completely unnecessary. It is this so-called proof of work that is used for running the blockchain. And there are other mechanisms that can do the same thing without burning so much energy. And this article says or analyzes that electrical vehicles, since they were created, saved like 50 million tons of CO2 so far. And this is great. This is why we all should change from combustion engines to at least electrical cars. But Bitcoin wasted so far 114 million tons, so more than double the amount that we saved with electrical vehicles. So the Bitcoin blockchain itself wastes so much CO2 that we kind of negate all the winnings that we have with electrical vehicles. But the question is, why don't we fix it? It's a technical problem, so we could technically simply change the software. But the problem is that this change can only be rolled out if the majority of all miners accept this change. This is how the consensus protocol of the blockchain works. And the big miners already invested millions into specialized hardware that mines in the way that the Bitcoin blockchain needs to be mined. So with this wasteful proof of work mechanism, and changing the algorithm would cause a massive financial change for these financial damage to these miners. So there's a very, very low chance that they all agree to this. And as long as the majority of miners insist on keeping the protocol unchanged, it will not change. And from the political point of view, actually China is the one who went forward and already banned the use of proof of work mining. So it's forbidden in China to use this wasteful way of mining. And this is actually very good for the environment. So weirdly, China is here the forerunner, and Europe and America should actually think about if they follow China, because without this governmental regulation, there is zero chance that the miners actually agree to this change. And so we keep burning fossil fuel basically for the blockchain, for the Bitcoin blockchain. And from the tendency, it rises every year. So this is crazy. Any thoughts on that?
Although China has not really ecological reasons actually to do so, right? So this is more or less a political thing, I'd say.
Yeah, might be, but the result is that China forbids the usage of this proof of work. I'm not sure how the actual wording of China is, if they ban like specific blockchains or if they ban the proof of work mechanism. This is a good question. I don't know that.
I have a very basic question. I always felt like I know a bit about this stuff, but now I'm just asking myself, I mean, we could also just invent a new currency. Isn't that something we could technically do?
Yes.
Which works which just works with other protocols. I mean, I'm invested in crypto a bit, and I was looking for these kind of stuff. So I have different coins I think are better for the environment. And my question is, could we just optimize a coin for sustainability due to the fact that in the end, all its worth is based on what we believe it is worth. I mean, that's the basic problem and question of cryptocurrency. So, I mean, we could just shift our stakes there to a much more efficient cryptocurrency, couldn't we?
Yeah, they already exist. There are so many coins that are doing exactly the right thing, and they prove that it is completely possible. But that's not how the stock market works. And people are buying and selling Bitcoin, and they love Bitcoin because it is Bitcoin, because everybody else loves Bitcoin. So there is this monopoly of interest, and people say, okay, we love Bitcoin because it's Bitcoin. The other options are there. If the investors who play around with Bitcoin, if they all agree to, oh yeah, let's move to another cryptocurrency and boost this one, perfect. Bitcoin would die immediately, but that's not how we work. We people, we see Bitcoin is valuable, so we buy Bitcoin because it is valuable. But it is only valuable because we run there and buy it, yeah, and the demand is there. So we as society, we in our thinking, we enforce that we cannot leave Bitcoin. And this is like this, what's it called? Like a self-fulfilling prophecy, like this chicken and egg problem that we cause for ourselves. We could at any point of time simply switch to another coin. It's already there, but we don't do it because we are stupid. Yeah, that's how our economy works. Yeah, and that's and usually I'm not a big fan of governmental regulations and over-regulating everything. But in this particular case, I'm not sure if we have another choice than have the government intervene and actually enforce moving away from proof of work. Because I don't see any other option, and I don't see that this problem will solve itself.
Yeah, especially as you said before, right? That so many people and miners actually have invested lots of money in their infrastructure, in the technology. So of course, this is also something which is difficult to change. I mean, if you have taken a specific path and invested in that path, and this is not only crypto mining, right? This is lots of developments we see nowadays. Then you are invested in that. You have put lots of money in there, and of course you do not want to lose that. So you just let things as they are. You just stay as you are, and yet just go on with what you did before, because it's the cheapest way in the short term sense. In the long run, of course, it might be very, very expensive.
Right. Okay, but enough ranting about Bitcoin. Let's jump to the next topic. Vincent, Instagram's testing. And you?
Yes, we don't skip that, Henrike. Yeah, so this is about Instagram testing a new feed, and if you are a user of Instagram, you probably have noticed last week, I think, or the week before, but I think it was last week actually, that Instagram finally brought something to the user, which we all have been demanding for years now, which is chronological feeds. And you actually have two new feeds. The one is just everything in chronological order. The other one is a favorites feed where you can add as many favorites you want, and you can see all the stuff that's going on there chronologically as well. Really, really cool. But still there is this other feed, and nobody really knows why it's there. Instagram tells us that they want us to explore and to, see new things. And yeah, that is true on the one hand, but on the other hand, isn't Instagram about personal connections? So it's a controversy at the moment. So now Instagram is testing a new feature, which is full screen and full content feed, which means that now, and that is actually a big problem for Instagram generally, looking at TikTok, looking at other social networks, maybe coming up, is that Instagram now has a few feeds which actually are kind of related, but kind of not, because Instagram has the story feed where you swipe through the stories. Instagram has the main feed for everything you post there. Instagram has the Reels feed, and Instagram has Explore, and all of these feeds are connected, but sometimes they are not. And that leads to a problem that Instagram cannot recommend as well as TikTok can, because TikTok has just one feed. So now Instagram is testing a feed where everything is included. So you scroll through it and you see stories, you see reels, you see the regular feed posts, you see something new that usually would, either come in the regular feed or on the explore page, and all of that in one. And that would lead to Instagram knowing much more about you. Nothing that they not know today, but they can use it much better to give you a great experience. This is something in beta phase, so nobody knows if this really is coming out, but they're obviously working on it. And I think, personally, I think this would be amazing, because I think Instagram is such a extremely powerful tool. I mean, if you open up the app, you can do so many things there, and Instagram is still doubling down on some features. They have, but they're still getting better. So Instagram is focusing on messaging and on video. And so Instagram is really a 360-degree app at the moment. But it's true that TikTok is better in terms of personalization. And this actually would, be a game changer for Instagram. And with Instagram having so many users, I can see that this would be a crucial time for TikTok, because it would be one of the very first times that actually an old player would, overthrow a newer player by stealing its technology, or, the idea of its technology. I mean, Instagram has done this before, but usually they were like the cool new kids on the block, and now Instagram is very established. It's not a startup anymore. So I think it's very, very exciting. And then there's the bad side, of course, because as we all know from TikTok, and Instagram can already do this, but they could do it much better than, is they could send you down rabbit holes. And obviously you would end up at places you probably don't want to. We're looking at mental health, looking at, different kinds of communication you probably network. So there's both sides, but I personally think it's great.
I'm curious to see how this will look like in the end now from a user perspective. Like, as on TikTok, it's always video content, and you seemingly, swipe through, and it's always the same kind of visual, experience that you have. On Instagram, it will be a mix of video and posts that are static, where you see a picture. Or, so this will be interesting to see how this then, if that is like a nice experience, or is that irritating in the end?
I don't know if we do this here, but the video there actually shows an example from a beta test Instagram did. So if you could play this, you definitely see how it works. It's really cool. So as you see, there are different videos, there are feed posts, but there's story as well. As you can see, then there is new accounts you could follow. And I mean, looking at this, I don't see why you couldn't also see your latest messages you haven't replied to, and things your friends have shared. And I think this is really a great place to start.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
It takes the control from the user to, like, instead of like, now I want to look into my messages and now I want to reply to them, you like get them thrown at you. I mean, it has its pros and cons, but I mean, yeah, it's just at the end of the day, it's just a matter of how used you are to it. Because even if it will be irritating at the beginning, if it's, this immersive solution, it won't take long and everybody will be like, yeah, I don't know why it hasn't always been like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but
Instagram is also, I think, coming up with this now, because I mean, this idea. Sorry, Tarek, did you want to say something? Sorry. No, go ahead.
I just wanted to mention that I'm always a fan of simplicity first, and having like this one For You page on TikTok is a great thing, because I don't have to think about anything. And I mean, yeah, of course, it's also like a pain sometimes, because I'm sometimes sent into these clusters that I might not even want to be there, and then I have to intentionally swipe away this content to break out again. But it's a new way of communicating, like, with this algorithm. And if this one is more successful, then it might be like a logical evolutionary step for these platforms to go there.
I think so, and I think that Meta right now is really scared of TikTok, because this is one of the links we skipped from last week. TikTok is also launching its own story feed, and it's still in one feed. So you scroll through it, and then from time to time you just see that there's a story, and you can click through it and then swipe again. So this is pretty much the same experience, hope, yeah, not confronting anyone, but in the end it is. So I think they right now are testing it because they're just extremely scared that if stories for TikTok comes to all users, and stories definitely is one of the most beloved features of Instagram, Instagram will just be obsolete after some time, because I mean, why not do it as simple as possible? Go to TikTok for everything.
Okay, then next one is Chris. AR contact lenses. Chris, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, the Mojo lens. We have spoken about that, like, I think 1-2 times in the tech review beforehand. So the difference is now they are feature complete. So thing is more or less ready to be produced. So they say that it still takes some time, right? So within the next 5 years, actually, they want to start production, but it is so far developed, right? And it's striking what they have actually done there, right? They call it the invisible computer because the lens, of course, you put it into your eye. It's not visible from outside, and it's doing a lot, so to say, inside your eye, right? So it's actually projecting various information onto your lens so that you have this augmented reality information and can somehow interact with that, work with that. The thing is, we should not actually take that as augmented reality as we have discussed it, well, like in other contexts, right? So it's not like the mixed reality glasses where you have a virtual layer and where you actually can interact with virtual objects in reality. So this is not the case. So what we have here is more or less something which we call virtual assistants or augmented assistants, right? So you have actually quite small field of view, which is only 15 degrees. So this is a fourth of the commonly available mixed reality glasses which we see out there at the moment. And so it's only parts of that, but it shows for various use cases then the some information, right? For instance, if you're doing sports, then it can actually display various parameters which are important for you. So that would be the all-day use case. But there are also, of course, like specific use cases, like from medicine or so, when people actually are not able to, or their vision is actually somehow limited, then the lens can enhance the contrast. It can improve the visual side. It can zoom in actually to make something more visible. All of that might be use cases for a lens like that. So yeah, this is where they are actually heading to within the next years. And the important thing, or the interesting thing, is that this, as you can see it also like in the pictures, is really a little computer, right? So I think it might be a strange feeling to have all of this computer stuff onto your lens, onto your eye. But in the end, it's like a real contact lens, right? So this is the first layer. So probably it's not different. But what's really impressive is the heart of the piece. And this is the display monitor, which is only 0.5 millimeters in diameter, so it's directly in the center of this lens here, and it has like I think it was 14,000, they said in the text, 14,000 pixel per inch. So this is the densest or the most dense display in the world, as they claim it. And I could imagine that, because if you really want to put so much information into such little monitor, you really have to have a dense amount of pixels in there to actually realize that. And I think it's an interesting concept. It's really striking. It might be useful for the future, for future use cases, as well as in medicine, as well also in all-day use. One thing might be a hurdle or a burden, actually, and this is that it has to be produced specifically, right? So like any other contact lens, it has to be produced individually for the user and for the lens, for the eye of the user, and that of course makes it a little bit difficult. and that you have like the streaming device, little computer, which is actually positioned in your neck, and that is then doing all the processing. So maybe we can have a look at one or two of these videos. So this is what you see, right? And here we also see the little field of view, which is just 15 degrees. So you only have parts of the whole screen, of the whole display in your view, in your vision. It's even better to see in the other video. So it's a little bit like a light bulb in a dark room. So you only have a light at the spot where you're looking at. So lots of eye tracking there. And this information will be visible then.
Well, I think that's incredible. I think that, yeah, no, I think it's really incredible because I mean, I think because I think now on more or less bridge technologies like the Apple Watch, for example, where I think that people love this because it gives them so many, abilities to, give them further information without having anything in their hands. But in the end, this is still a device you have to charge every day. And it's just ridiculous when you think of it that the battery, drains over time. And okay, I don't want to trash Apple Watch now. I'm just saying that this is like literally the next step because obviously this device will also, gain more power over time, looking at something you have in the neck. I'm pretty sure this will, evolve, and then, looking at the development will also pass. So I think that yeah, this really makes a lot of bridge technologies right now obsolete. Just like just like glasses you hear music with or listen music to with. So I think that's pretty great.
I cannot.
We will all be cyborgs in the end, having that in our eyes.
I cannot imagine how this actually works. How is it powered? I mean, with all the glasses that we see, the AR glasses, they all have this problem of hiding like batteries or the connection to the CPU and all of this stuff. And here it seems like, yeah, no, we just do it. We have this thing, you put it in your eyes and it just works. I mean, just works. It's a prototype, of course, but I can't imagine how this works.
Of course, I mean, this is really a very thin foil battery, which is actually being produced on this little lens thing there. And they say if you use it continuously, it's actually it has power for two hours, right? So this is not really long. So depends on the use case probably, or maybe you need like 2 or 3 of these actually to change them. And whenever the one is actually being loaded, you can use the other. I don't know. So as said, it's feature ready, but it's not market ready yet. So that will take some more years. They also have to look for real use cases and also for, well, in the end, mass market use cases. So they are like talking to Adidas, for instance, already checking out if it might be a use case to have all these sports parameters projected directly into your eye. I don't know. They're heading for 20 to 30% of the market, as far as I remember, regarding AR and mixed reality glasses. So that seems to be quite optimistic, actually, to be honest, especially if you think that all the lenses have to be created and produced individually, depending on the lens, on the eye lens of the user. But nonetheless, I mean, it is a start and it is a development which actually we just should follow, which we should keep into which we should keep into the eye, so to say, in the sense of the word. So because it has some potential from my point of view, as you just described it. If it really will be the one who is a game changer in the end, let's see. Or if it's then only for medical purpose. So that will probably time will tell.
Right.
To me, this feels a bit like a startup that we will never hear of for another 5 years because some tech giant, buys it right away for X billion dollars. Nobody hears about it, and then they come up with a product based on this. I see like Microsoft or Amazon grabbing this right away and taking it off the market to work on whatever Alexa product they're thinking of. I hope I didn't turn any Alexas.
If Apple buys it,
it's a possibility. So in the end, it only depends on the use cases, right? So as said, this is AR assistance. This is not what we would call mixed reality, and this is not metaverse, real world metaverse interaction for the future. So this is, from my point of view, more specific.
And if Apple,
For now,
if Apple buys it,
right?
I have my iPhone, my iPad, and my II.
Yeah.
Internet eye. Nice.
If our tech review is valuable for you, please give us feedback with a like or a comment. That would help us tremendously and it wouldn't cost you anything. And if you don't want to miss the next episode, just click on the subscribe button. And now, back to the news. Okay, we still have some articles to cover. Henrike, satellites from the printer.
Yes, I'm finally back with some space content after a couple of weeks without it. I thought it's about time, and I just stumbled upon that in one of our brands. Well, I think that's a premiere as well. Yeah, there's a new German startup called Reflex Aerospace. And I got the attention of it because the former head of Airbus Scale, the innovation unit of Airbus, he just left Airbus and joined Reflex Aerospace, I think this week. And it's a German, or like in general, the German launcher and satellite startup scene is growing amazingly in the past years. So we have ESA Aerospace, Mynaric, I don't know how to pronounce it, and now also Reflex Aerospace, for example. And they are focusing on medium-sized 3D printed satellites of like approximately 250 to 500 kilograms. And there's, I think, another EU-wide satellite constellation that they're planning for bug-proof broadband internet, and they want to jump on that and want to be part of that in a consortium. That's their big goal for now, and to be like the fastest satellite manufacturer, at least in Europe, because of course competition is already there and is strong. They want to be able in the end to only need 3 months for design, 3 months for building it, 3 months for testing, and then launching it, which is already quite fast. But compared to SpaceX, they produce 8 satellites per day right now, and Reflex Aerospace are aiming for 80 per year. So there's still big difference. But for the German mentioned startup and satellite scene, that would actually be, that's a niche that needs to be filled, and they are ready for it. They also mentioned, and that's touching upon another topic we also spoke about a while ago, or a couple of times actually. They state that like life duration of satellites of 15 years is not necessary anymore. So shorter time in between replacements is possible and is what they're actually also aiming for. So the whole topic of space debris and all the garbage we have up there already, this will increase significantly, even though they might need less material per satellite due to the 3D printing solution. In the end, if cycle is shortened and they're launching like so many in such a short amount of time, it will just increase heavily. And I think on Sunday or Monday, there was also an article from CNN just about that, because of course, there are scientists, being or claiming again that like the night sky is, you cannot really see the night sky anymore because of all the debris that is floating around. So many interesting or like many relevant things when it comes to that, like for the private space industry in Germany and Europe. This is amazing to have another player in there and also filling a new niche. But for the broader, I mean, the problems we already have now, they will just get bigger as well.
You said launching. How are they going to launch these?
Like how or where or like?
No, you said they're going to produce them, test them, etc., and then launch them. And
I don't know with which kind of launch provider, but I mean, they could partner up with ESA Aerospace, for instance, the Munich-based startup that is like building smaller kind of launchers, not like Ariane big or SpaceX Falcon kind of style, but smaller ones, which could be a possibility. But yeah, that is not mentioned in there. With whom they want to launch them, but they probably are in talks with different companies. Yeah.
These news, they feel so much like science fiction, and if at some point of time I will create something like a compilation of all these crazy news stories, like satellites from the 3D printer and these bionic eyes that we are discussing, and it's so crazy. We talk about these things, they are news, they are developed right now, but I feel like 10 years in the past it would be like citing science fiction literature. So crazy. Yeah, and also
and I mean, it's just a couple of weeks ago when we talked about the satellites made out of wood.
Yeah, right.
So like now we're going from one material to another.
Yeah, and we have like too much space debris, and we build moon colonies.
Yeah, but does it really have this science fiction quality? I mean, if we think about the classical, so to say, science fiction sphere of Star Wars and Star Trek and whatever they are called, and also like the dystopics like Blade Runner. So like everything is more or less so perfect. It's high end, right? High end technology. And what we see here, indeed, it's the same technology. So we have AR, we have VR, we have satellites, we have like lenses which you put onto your eyes, and then AR content is being projected into your lens directly, everything. So all of that is there. But from my point of view, there's a huge spectrum, like in quality, right? So what we see here is, of course, the dawn of a new technological age, if you wanted to put it that way, but it's really, really, really the absolute beginning of what might be possible somewhere, and of what we think about when talking about science fiction, right? So what we see here with the lens, for instance, I mean, of course it works, but in the end, 15% field of view, only text, only green, only 2 hours, and probably also you look a little bit strange with such a thing into your eyes. But if we think about like cyber technology as we know it from all those science fiction series, I see, well, a difference in the spectrum of quality there. So yeah, technology is there. So yeah, it is more or less science fiction, but it's still at the very beginning. And from my point of view, we see that with all the other technologies as well. Most of them actually, which we are talking about. So it's really cool that we get there, but it really will take a while, maybe a life or even more, even longer, until we really can talk about a state of quality and experience which we know from science fiction.
Yeah, I mean, we are always at the beginning of something, and some other technologies are already like everyday items. If you take a look at the science fiction from the 60s or 70s, where they dream of having portable computers and self-driving cars and virtual reality devices, and those are already kind of standardized in our modern society, kind of. So of course, when we talk now, what we do right here about the cutting edge stuff like these contact lenses, yeah, they are not right for a broad market. But technically, every day that I use my smartphone, this is already kind of science fiction for the previous generation.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is alien technology, anyways. So, but okay, but nonetheless, I mean, I know, I see the point you're mentioning, but what I also recognize is that with all these technologies, we are just like, so to say, scratching the surface, right? So like take virtual reality. I mean, it's really cool. It's really nice being in there and doing all these things. But this is still a niche, right? It's still a quite small market and amount of people who really use that. If you compare that to the whole world market out there, and I think the reason is clear. We had that last time also. I mean, VR is cool. It's especially if you have like certain use cases, but there's still so much to be done. I mean, VR headsets, they are big. The resolution is not that cool. The usability could be better. I mean, we are on the way, definitely. And also like with all this metaverse hype and so we have started something, but nonetheless, I mean, we can be honest that it will take a while. It will take some years until we reach the Ready Player One level.
I mean, I think, yeah, but I think you're being a bit unfair because this is different for every industry. I mean, look at, for example, now the article Henrike brought about the satellites. If I had a 3D printer, which I mean, this, for example, is something we're not scratching the surface. Yes, 10 years ago, 3D printer were like a few $1,000, and then you had a bad one. Now you can build one yourself off an article you can find online. You have a database actually, and I'm sure these satellites will find its way into the database where you can get open source materials to build your own satellite with a 3D printer you built yourself at home. So I don't know if we're scratching the surface. I mean, I could do what NASA did 20 years ago in my living room now. And I think that is something pretty incredible. And I don't think this is just scratching the surface.
Yeah, I think also like at the beginning, just to add on that, like, of course, we're always scratching at the surface because I mean we're always looking for innovation and to go further. But the amount of time that is needed between like scratching on the surface and actually have it as a standardized product in your life, this is getting shorter and shorter. But obviously it can feel like you're always just at the beginning because there's always something new, and then obviously you're always like just starting with it. But to make it then like market ready or like for your daily usage, the time's just getting shorter and shorter because we're getting quicker in developing all of these, science fiction kind of.
We're always finding a new surface. There's always a new surface.
We can put it that way. We're always finding a new surface.
This, of course, you need a frame to which you can relate to, right? This is this surface, if you want to put it that way. But if we talk about like science fiction, that was actually the original vocabulary stated here. And if you take that as a relation, then we definitely scratch the surface. So it really is quite a way to get there, what we know from science fiction. So as said, we see the technologies, we see the science fiction technologies, but we see it in a state which is still very early. And maybe we will experience during our lifetimes actually the development that really might reach the science fiction level, which we see in all those series and movies, which we call science fiction. But I mean, it's for sure, this is not what we have reached nowadays. And I mean, the current level of science fiction and the relation of technologies where we are at the moment, not from the 70s, not from the 60s. Of course, if you refer to that and you have a relation from the 60s to now. So yeah, we are all super powered humans.
Yeah, because like really also the level of science fiction surface level is also like always changing. So then obviously that is kind of just how it is.
Okay, let's jump to a topic that is a little bit more non-science fiction, but very, very current for us as news media corporation, right? I would like to have a look at Google's new developments in terms of cookie technology. Absolutely no science fiction, no rocket science. You might remember that Google had the plan to get rid of all the cookies in the Chrome browser until 2023. And last year, Google created the system called FLOC, or FLOC, the Federated Learning of Cohorts, which was supposed to make cookies unnecessary. And this is an unsupervised learning locally in your browser that takes your complete browser history and assigns you, based on your behavior, to cohort with similar Chrome users that have like similar usage patterns. And this was supposed to be privacy preserving compared to cookies, because you get still some personalization of ads, but no personal information of you is distributed to the vendors, to the advertisers. But there was a lot of resistance against this approach, and Google now has a new approach, and they call it Google Topics. And Google Topics is interestingly a manually curated list of topics, and then again your browsing history is used to determine which of those interests match to you. For example, sports, yeah, and then every week you get like a new topic assigned, yeah, or added or replaced of your list of topics. And it maintains like a list of 5 topics that represent you and your interests. And then you get like another random one, the 6th one, so that you are not like, you can't be identified by this fixed set of 5 topics. You always have some random topic in there. This list is then shared with the advertising partners, and so they can then decide to send you sports ads. And the list of your topics will never leave your computer. It's all handled there, or the details of your browsing behavior never leaves your computer. This again sounds like, okay, a step in the right direction, but the advertisers are still not happy with this approach. And right now they are, or at least this is what the article says, right now a loss of 70% of revenues is expected due to the loss of third-party cookies that we will face. And they fear that it will even get worse when we start dealing with these pre-audited lists of topics that we will then be assigned to. And this is really serious because Google, of course, with the Google Chrome browser is the biggest player on the market. And if they decide to ditch the cookies, this will have a massive impact on the whole industry. Yeah? And so this is, of course, for us interesting, but basically also for everyone who works with cookies and who is dependent on the revenues generated by advertising, right? So from my point of view, this is maybe for us even a more important topic than like the satellites or the contact lenses, because this is actually shaping our whole industry the next years. And Google is determined to push through this until 2023, which is coming very, very soon. Do you have any opinions about cookies or the browser behavior? Yeah, I'm not sure how deep you are in this. Right now, I'm touching a lot of these fields with advertising and monetization strategies, and I'm really curious to see if they find a way to solve this problem, because somehow they have this roadmap of getting rid of cookies in 2023, which is really, really soon. But if I read this and the problems that they have with this flog system and with these topics, I'm not sure if they will be ready next year to actually replace the cookie with something usable. Yeah. And from the change, they have this unsupervised learning, which sounds very modern, and now they exchange it to a manually curated list. This is usually the other way around. So we replace like smart machine learning with a team of people creating manual topics. Sounds like backwards.
I think that this is what we know from Google. It's always been that way, but I think it's really interesting that Google is again creating something that seems to push you further into the Google universe, because obviously you can only, the most valuable user for an advertiser then again would be somebody who would be using Google products to browse the web and do whatever they can. I'm sure if this is successful, I'm sure they will expand it to other Google products you're using, since they're all free. So of course they want to monetize this by more adability, or if you want, I don't know what you want to call it that. And therefore, it's in everybody's interest that you're a 100% Google user and more Google user. And this right now, to me, is very I mean, if they really ditch this, it would, on the other hand, mean that the industry entirely would have an extreme interest in you using Chrome. I, for one, don't like Chrome. That's just me. But what would this mean for me? Because if you cannot monetize me, would this mean that in the end, the website would tell me like, dude, you can either pay or you can use Chrome, and therefore I would be forced to, go to Chrome. And now this is a very bad, universe I'm building right now. But now imagine this being brought to other products of Google, and therefore, ditching a lot of other stuff that is usable with other products. This would down the line mean that a lot of products would tell me, hey, you can either use the login from Google or not log in. And you could either, use a Chrome device, hence the software I was bringing last time, the Google OS Flex, Chrome OS Flex, or you can't download a specific software. This will not happen because there are other players out there. But in a world where Google isn't even stronger than it is here, this would really mean that we would all be destined to use Google forever. I think that's horrible.
Or the other way around. If the Google browser does not allow the advertising partners to make any money anymore, it might actually be that a website that is available for free, if you have advertising on it, says, okay, the Chrome browser is not supported anymore. Use another browser, or we can't display you the website because we can't make any money due to advertising. Or we switch to other advertising, to other monetizing models where we say, okay, the free content that we have based on the advertising revenue is not maintainable anymore, and so we only have like a paywall and a subscription service, because otherwise we are not able to monetize anymore.
But isn't that even worse? Look at all the websites we're presenting here. All of these websites are not worth subscribing to. I'm sorry, this is just the way it is. I would never subscribe to Digital Trends or TechCrunch or social media today. It's the way it is. And yes, maybe if they find a subscription model that works, but in the end, people are not ready to pay for stuff online. That's just how it is. This is the internet. So, if this happens and TechCrunch would tell me, hey, dude, you got to pay, or you got to use another browser, I would just say, you know what, I'm going to ditch TechCrunch entirely, which would lead to TechCrunch telling me, okay, you better stay, use us, and we'll find another way, meaning that TechCrunch would lose a lot of revenue. And I would just say, hey, cool, I'm going to use Google Chrome because I don't need ad blocker anymore, so my internet is faster, due to the fact that nobody's advertising on Google anymore because nobody cares. So either way, this is bad, I think.
Yeah, this is a very interesting shift, because on the one hand we say we make advancements in terms of privacy, and the new system will increase the privacy of me as a user, but we actually endanger the whole advertising industry. And at the end, it might be that digital publishers will go bankrupt because their monetization model completely crashes. And I'm not sure, I saw this number of 70% now for the first time in this article. I have to dig deeper if this is actually the prediction, but imagine losing 70% of your revenue because the technology changes and you're dependent on this form of monetization. Then you really have no chance. And as you said, subscriptions are profitable, but you are not selling so many subscriptions as you have with users on the free advertising pages.
Look at companies I look at Apple changing their tracking system inside iOS, and immediately companies like Snapchat lost 50% of their revenue, right away. Facebook, same. Yes, these companies, they have money and they have product, and they can develop something else. But now look at a startup not having this kind of possibilities, but building on that. And just because a software changes, because I don't know, whatever, some strategic decision was made of another company, you will never have contact with. Your business is going to be bankrupt. So that's horrible. And it's happening today, and this is just one more example.
So yeah, time is running short. We can go on. I'm not sure if you still have a couple of minutes. Then we can at least take one more or two more articles. The next one would be from Vincent.
Yes, I'm going to make that quick. So WhatsApp, it has a big problem called Telegram, and Telegram actually experienced to be used a lot for chatting, yes, but not that much for like personal connection. Telegram is much more for community. So you create a group, you invite a lot of people there, you can share that group link, people can come to it, and there is an admin or somebody else who starts posting, and he posts stuff, and all of it is end-to-end encrypted, so nobody can enter the conversation without being invited, and they cannot change anything. Okay, so now WhatsApp is realizing that this is a big problem, and especially due to the crisis right now with Russia, and they're realizing that forwarded messages people don't actually read, or they read and they don't get what's written there, or maybe it's just a lie. I mean, we also have to face that a lot of stuff forwarded is just bullshit. I mean, look at all these chain mails that I have to write in my chat some kind of disagreement to Facebook, and my Facebook logo will turn red, and then I'm okay. I mean, we all went through this phase in 2011. So all of this is a problem, and Meta / Facebook, WhatsApp are now determined to change that. So what they're doing right now is, for one, you cannot forward that many messages anymore. You can forward for messages individually, and you can also do that into a group chat. It's not like they're killing this feature entirely, but they're stopping you actually from doing this too often. And I think that is a very smart way to make sure that people check out what they're actually using, and not just forward everything to an entire list, or actually even worse, to a broadcast, and maybe more broadcasts and groups. And then so this is one thing they're just doing for privacy. I think that's great, but there's something else they're doing right now, and I think that's much more interesting. So WhatsApp will create something that's called communities, and communities is exactly what Telegram is used for. So WhatsApp will create or change, or better, replace the camera icon, because WhatsApp status, what's that again? It will change the status icon, will exchange it, the camera icon actually, for a community icon. And there you can create a community. It's pretty much like group merged together with some kind of broadcast. And what you can do there is you can, invite a lot of people, and you can share the link. It's public, but also you can only enter it if it's, open, that strange people enter it. And you can enter a link, and there you can set all these kind of settings, like, do you want people to talk? Do you want only to publish as an admin and people have to listen? Because that was a big problem with broadcast, because broadcast was meant for people to communicate to a few people or more, but it wasn't actually meant for companies to push out their products just to some kind of phone number list they bought online. And now with communities, they're bringing this feature back to actually enable companies, but also creators, and also, of course, private individuals, to invite people to a group and make them, share their thoughts and ideas there. And this actually is highly, highly, highly important now for WhatsApp, because Telegram is growing so fast due to the fact that people in there have this, and I mean, yeah, you can see it as a good thing and a bad thing, but they have this very unregulated room to share and to talk. And WhatsApp was really limiting this, looking at freedom of speech and everything. This really was a feature that was overdue. So communities will come to WhatsApp, and first of all, it will come to iOS WhatsApp later this year. We don't know when, but it will come. And I'm really, really, really excited, actually, because I don't use Telegram for anything but for communities. So I hope I can kill one more app from my phone, because everybody will use WhatsApp again, and I think that's great.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Telegram. I'm a little bit in the wrong direction, but Telegram already has this function of groups where you can post community messages, I think. I'm not sure if this is the same thing, but yeah.
This is exactly why Telegram is growing so fast, because WhatsApp is not enabling this feature, and does not have this kind of feature, and Telegram has it. So that's why they're bringing it too. Again, Meta stealing stuff from other companies.
Okay.
This could be the headline of also today's tech review, like.
Yeah, then I think we still have 3 articles from Chris. Chris, do you have like a particular order or one that you say you need definitely to show us? We have Wendy, we have Fashion Week, and we have Alphabet.
Yeah, let's go for the Fashion Week maybe. That's actually, it was quite interesting. That was last week or the week before, I don't know. That was the Fashion Week in Metaverse. Also, an article from one of our brands, and this is a report about the experience our tester actually had in the Metaverse in Decentraland with the Fashion Week, and well, it was special. So as you can imagine, I mean, we have Decentraland, we have this browser-based Metaverse game, a little bit Minecraft pixel resolution thingy-like, and then you have like a fashion week there, and of course, I mean, fashion. I think it's really also difficult, right? So why are metaverses big at the moment, as we know them from the hype? Because they have an ecosystem. We had that last time, right? You can actually produce stuff, you can sell stuff, you can. It's blockchain based. You have NFTs. You can buy them. You can sell them. So you have real money or cryptocurrencies at least involved. So that is an economical system, which is so the basic motor of all of these metaverses then, and the basic structure, which has the potential actually to act as a second life platform. But of course, there's a little bit more to that, and also later on it will be the usability, the use cases, and the resolution, of course. And as we know, like in Decentraland, there is potential to improve that. Nonetheless, if you have like, especially fashion is something which is a very optical thing, right? So there's lots of visuals in there. So the vision is a very big, a very impressive, a very important aspect in this type of art, so to say. And it's cool that fashion actually goes into the metaverses, but also again, so we are stretching the surface again. Of course, you have like not the resolution, not the photorealistic effects which you might expect when you talk about fashion, right? And so this is a little bit what also the author of the article describes when she actually went into this fashion week and was running around in the metaverse in her browser and was a little bit lost, didn't know exactly where to go and what to see and how all these mechanisms, actually game mechanisms, actually work. And then, okay, you get this kind of fashion, and it's interesting, it's new, and it's cool that, so to say, the industry goes metaverse. But also here, it was quite, in the end, there was a statement which she gave, which I think was quite down to earth. She said, it's difficult to take the whole thing serious. I think that is what she said. And maybe if you just go down a little bit, that was the last phrase which I have in my mind. And this is the experience which I can understand from her specific point of view, because if you expect like big fashion and then you get video gaming graphics from the 20s, from the 2000s, 20 years ago. So then, of course, that might get you a little bit down to earth. And
the last, sorry.
Yeah, that's actually the main point.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
I was finished actually.
I just wanted to say that the last point actually destroyed my question I had ready, which is that, hey, would you agree that we need more reporters and more journalists covering what's happening in the metaverse, and probably not only Decentraland but also on other platforms? But I agree with you that I think for a lot of potential readers, this would just be really hard to actually take seriously.
So I think it's the same as with the lenses we had before, right? It's a question of use cases, right? And also a question of user groups. So this is why I said that maybe the fashion user groups are not the best market potential to target to, because they have high expectations. Most of the times they are not really like techies. They expect like photorealistic stuff and everything, and then they get this. I mean, if you're a techie, if you are into gaming and so, then you know what to expect. Then you know how Decentraland works. Then you know it's a Minecraft graphics thing. Then you know how the whole technology behind that works. And then, as said, you know what to expect. And your expectations are maybe not that high. But if you are non-techie from the fashion field and have high expectations, and then are being thrown into like into a browser-based game with the graphics as we know it, then you might be disappointed. I don't say that it has to be. I mean, there are many cool things, right? So you have this economic circle based on NFTs. You can buy wearables. You can use them in these games. Maybe later on they will also be transferable from one metaverse to the other. But this is what I mentioned beforehand when we had the science fiction discussion. We are still scratching the surface. So there's so much potential in there, but there's also so much potential which we still have to achieve to get there. So it's a start. It's
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get the people in there for the fashion, they will be disappointed. If you want to get them in there to make them familiar with this environment and with this game, and they enter in it with that purpose, like I want to see that game and that environment, then it may be like interesting and fascinating for them. But if you really, want to do it like on the fashion level, then it will be like, what the heck is that?
Yeah, exactly. So this is the spectrum thing again, right? So we have like the metaverse entered now on a, let's call it low spectrum, or the low end of the spectrum. And then we have, so to say, the science fiction end of the spectrum, which might be something like Ready Player One. And the fashion guys, of course, they would expect more something like the Ready Player One thing, and not the lower spectrum end, which we see nowadays. If you have other user groups, if you have other use cases, it might be perfectly all right. I mean, look at Roblox. They have like, I think 50 million users. So currently returning. So this is really something, this is a number, right? And okay, it's a little bit different to what we see, but not so the difference is not that big. And yeah, the question is, who's the target group? What is the use case?
And I think technologically it would be possible to use like volumetric cameras to actually create a real-time 3D image of a person. I guess it will be very expensive, and it will probably also have glitches and something. But I guess this would be more in the sense of what the creators of this experience had in mind, like a photorealistic representation in the metaverse. But it's probably not possible with like open source stuff and the like budget technology that the organizers then probably use. So the creators, I could imagine that the creators had a different quality in mind when they started working on that, and in the end it was just not feasible on their budget.
Yeah, exactly. So in the end, that's exactly what you say, right? So Decentraland as a, let's call it budget platform, might be not the right fit for fashion. But let's think that a little bit further. If we think about the real world metaverse, if we think about mixed reality, I mean, we have applications there where you have like holographic figures and figurines actually walking through your personal space, and something like that also with fashion is possible, right? Of course, it's more expensive and it's more high end, and you would need like something like a HoloLens and not a 2D/3D video game on your desktop. But something like that might be possible. Indeed, you would have avatars walking through your personal space, presenting the newest fashion, and it might have a very cool, artsy, fartsy design and appearance, and something glamorous, and it would appeal to the eye of the fashion fan, right? So, but that is different also nowadays regarding the technological level to what we have in Decentraland. And of course, there's still, as we had it before, lots of potential up to the science fiction level we were discussing beforehand. But it is possible even nowadays. But of course, it's expensive.
Okay. So we are massively over time, but still, thank you very much. Chris, maybe you just bring the 2 articles that we didn't cover just for the next time. Thank you so much for the great articles again. I'm always flashed about the advances that we do. It feels like really every 2 weeks we are one step deeper in like sci-fi, if I say it like that, in the sci-fi world. And I'm really looking forward to the next episode 23 in 2 weeks from now. This will then be the last time that I'm like on the road and not in my studio. So have a nice day or evening, depending on the time zone you're in, and see you next time. Bye.
See you then.